Well, the volatility was nice while it lasted for those couple hours yesterday morning. Buy the dip, kind of right back to mid range for this entire week and a half. Eli Lilly, non-stop good news out of that company. Drug news, earnings news, blasting to a new all-time high. We have some other earnings to discuss as well. CC Lagator will come on at 8:35, discuss the option markets, a low vol. And I have a suggestion for AMD, and I'll make that when the show starts, which is right now.
Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your hosts, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I'd buy that stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
All right, everyone fired up this morning. We're up 8.5 handles, 41.45 and a quarter. Really no relevant numbers to talk about. You have the buck. It got over 102 yesterday, now down 39.5 cents at 103.33. The bonds, a little bit of a rally here ahead of the big Fed meeting today. Crude under 70 bucks. Where are all the people that were picking on me about crude when I was talking about it at 80 bucks? Please stand up and show your hand. Gold up $1.30 at 2024.60. Silver in the red, going the opposite way, down a nickel at 25.56. And Bitcoin, that's down $200 at 28,650. Let's bring in Triple D. I know you almost had a good one in the after hours action, but do you want to hear my suggestion for advanced micro devices?
Oh, yeah, please.
Okay, so I think that they should change the name of the company and the symbol.
And what should they change it to?
NVIDIA?
They should, no, AIMD.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea. You get that AI in there.
Yes.
But is that trade over now? Did it
I don't
over?
know.
They should
I
have
don't
did that like a
know.
month ago.
I don't know if it's really over, though. That's one thing I'll say.
It's cooled off. It's cooled off substantially. Where is AI?
Let's take a
AI
look.
leaking, Joel. Like,
Yeah.
This poor AI trade cooled off substantially. I took a flyer on the Palantir. It went good for about 2 days. And then they started to sell everything there. I got stopped out on that puppy. So
no worries.
It's one of those. This is the market environment that we're in. This is it.
All right. So what regional banks? I mean, I kind of feel bad yesterday. Triple D, you got me all fired up on the pre-market show. I picked on Jamie Dimon, and holy mackerel.
He deserved to be picked on, and we were absolutely correct.
Yep.
There's some shows we're right. There's some shows we're wrong. And yesterday we were absolutely right.
That's what I would say for sure.
Absolutely hitting it out of the park yesterday on this chat, on the talk that this is not over. This regional bank talk was not over. A lot of those banks were hardly down the pre-market. Key Bank opened down 2 cents. Yep. And then she fell $2, or at least $1. It was down 10% at one time. I mean, all these banks, PACW leading the charge, getting all the headlines, but MCB, I mean, there was just every regional bank was down significantly. Some were down 20%, some were down 10%. The KREIT, I think, was down 6%. So, and that encompasses all of them, obviously. Just a mess, man. Not over.
It's not over. They're getting a little bounce this morning in the pre-market. Will this bounce hold, or are you still seeing more leaking in the region?
I think we're going to have a number of them go to zero. So I had predicted successfully that FRC would go to zero. That is the case. I'm going to predict here again that there will be more of these banks going to zero. Shareholders and bondholders going to be wiped out. That is my prediction. I have no crystal ball. I have no inside information. It is just what the stock charts are telling me here. So it's difficult here. You analyze stocks and you see S&P is still near the highs. Yep. Well, who cares about the banks? Yeah. Well, they started to carry yesterday because we sold off about 40, 50 points. Now we start bouncing. They start forgetting about it. You got Microsoft trading higher. You got, your Apples. And, oh, yeah, we're good. Who cares? Market can rally without the banks. Market can rally without the banks, but not when they're failing. So I'm still of this opinion. I was raising more cash yesterday. I'm raising cash into bounces. Yeah, I know. I'm like 55%. I was bringing it back up. I sold my Disney. I sold, anything that I bought recently. I'm just like, it's not the environment to just be a hero here and try to like, oh yeah, we're going to the next bull market. And maybe wrong, but I just think there's so many things, man. And this market, misses obvious trades. It's a very dumb market. So, I mean, you can say, oh, yeah, the market's right, you're wrong. And definitely been the case for the last few weeks. That doesn't mean you're going to end up being wrong. So I see these banks failing. I can't just go and blindly just go all in investing right now. I think it's a mistake.
One thing that I definitely caught yesterday was not only the regional banks taking a hit, but also the major banks, right? Bank of America, straight down out the open. Goldman Sachs, straight down at the open. That's why I was talking about maybe looking at it like an FAZ type of play. That was a really nice play yesterday. If you guys played that on the day trade action, of course, that's the leverage play. That's the bear 3 times from direction. But going to keep watch. Bank of America's low is right there. That's an important low. And if it breaks through that kind of 27 area, where are we going to go? And that's where I really am focusing on now, because regional banks concern, I think, is something. There's a whole nother ball game if we start getting concerned from some of these major banks.
Oh, yeah, well, and it's also a concern if we have earnings coming in and, they haven't really taken it that much in stride, which we'll get to AMD here in a second. I mean, we're priced for perfection on a lot of stocks here. So you just add it all up and it's like, is this the market to be all in on? I mean, we got Gil Morales, who's been, a fantastic technical, analyst for a long, long time. And he's looking, I was reading his tweets yesterday, and he's like not bullish whatsoever. He's like, the people who are bullish are not looking at individual stock charts, because the great majority of individual stock charts look more like the IWM. So, I mean, we can say, yeah, it's not 7 stocks. JC Pratt's making a fantastic point. There's 800 stocks up more than 10% on the NYSE. So there's definitely more than that. The problem is there's 2,400 stocks on the NYSE. So the other 1,600 aren't doing that great. So, I mean, it's not been this rah, everything is ripping. There's always something going up. Eli Lilly, monster stock.
Oh, boy.
We'll get to that. If you want to stop and talk that one for a second here, maybe in more detail here, because Eli Lilly is the good news story of this market. Bad news for me and Money Mitch, because we liked it back at 320 and we never bought it. But good news for the people who were smart enough to listen to us and actually go out and buy it. We're just not smart enough to listen to ourselves.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes you're thinking about the story, the long-term story, right? And the long-term story can sometimes be hard to get the timing correct. In this situation, we didn't get the timing correct, and you can see the taking off. Of course, today, according to clinical trial data, Eli Lilly patients who received donanemab demonstrated 35% slower decline in memory, thinking, and their abilities to perform daily activities. Lilly plans to apply for the FDA approval as soon as this quarter. One thing, though, to mention here is not everything is perfect with this treatment, right? There was 3 participants in the trial that died from the side effects. The side effects could increase brain swelling and bleeding. Some had fatal cases. The FDA did reject the request in January and asked the company to provide more data on the patients who received the antibody for at least 12 months. So we're going to see how the actual application goes in and when will this happen. They said as soon as this quarter. Now we'll be on the wait.
Market reads what they want to read, and they're reading the good parts of it, right?
Yes.
With the efficacy.
It is. And that's the kind of market we're in. When the stock is hot, they will find more reasons to continue to buy the stock. There is, for momentum players, they can always find the momentum stocks. And this is one right now, been hot. Is this upside capitulation maybe? I'm not chasing it from, when it just ran $100 here. The buy was March. The buy for the Eli Lilly was March. So now you're up $100 if you bought it back in mid-March. I think it probably ringing the register, but if you're in it for a trade. But this story is just going to continue to be there. You got the Alzheimer's, you got the weight loss drug, which is probably the better drug. You just got this company firing all cylinders. Again, the PE is scary, but Nvidia's PE is scary too, and the thing continues to go higher. So strong gets stronger if they're really strong, and that's been the case with Eli Lilly.
442.84 it hit earlier this morning. Now you've leaked $14 off that. I think I'll go out on a limb and say this pre-market high is probably going to hold up for the session. So if you're looking to sell right now, I mean, we'll see if we can even open over 430. The high, the last bracket was 34.70, or excuse me, 31.75. Currently at 428.01. So I mean, I think the only way, if you want to sell today, and I'm not saying that that's what you should do, is be scaling up, and the higher the price goes, the more size. The top of yesterday's range might not be seeing that for a long time. 411.54. Also, when you look at this, it's bad news for Biogen, right? Biogen.
Yep.
Well, it was down a lot more though. Whoo,
Yeah,
look at
it's
that
coming back.
bounce.
It's coming back.
Yeah,
Yep.
look at Biogen. They hit this down, and just the craziness of when people start panicking. They hit this to 285. They didn't even say anything. I mean, oh my goodness, the Lilly drug, it's good. Sell Biogen, sell. What are people like? Is this what we've come to? Is there that much stupidity in this market? I wish I would have been awake. What time was that? I wish I would have been awake then.
It was you should have been up. It was at the 645 bracket.
Was it 6:45? Was it that?
Yeah.
early?
Uh-huh.
I got to my
man.
desk at 6:50, so I just missed it then.
You're
I
late.
did. I always
You're
get in
done.
before 7. I like being in there before 7. You have other exchanges opening at 7. I like to be in before 7 o'clock, but 6:50. I always got up at 4, but I just can't do it anymore. The 2 kids, the hockey games are late at night. This just does me in here. So, anyways, hockey games costing me here, but holy cow! Like, just I mean, this is a stock, Biogen, that has been rip roaring higher, and I'm long Biogen. Full disclosure. This stock has been rip roaring higher for the last 4 days. It gives it all back just like that. They didn't even say anything. And now it comes all the way back. Congratulations to the 285, 286, 287 buyers this morning. 286, 287 sellers. Don't panic like that. Learn from this. Because one thing is, in this market, is moves do have reversals quite often. And when you got a sympathy move knocking something down $25, they knocked it down 8%. They were knocking this down more than they were buying Lilly up. How does that make any sense?
Because there only could be
that
one.
doesn't make any sense at all.
Because there could only be one Alzheimer's drug, Dennis. Don't you know that? There can only be
one drug of everything. There can
yeah,
only be
only
one.
Only one.
There was only one vaccine. There could only be one of everything.
Yes. Yep. There's only one kind of aspirin. But Dennis, you even
one kind of aspirin. Yes.
Yeah.
One ring to lead them all.
And you know what? You're even going to be kicking yourself in the butt harder when you look at your low from April 27th at 285.55. You could have had all you wanted there. You could have had an iceberg out there at 285, and they just get done. And then they trade
wake
through
up earlier.
you.
Stop watching late hockey games.
That's what you would have done. You would have went 85.5 bid, and then they would have been offering it lower on other exchanges, and you wouldn't move. You would just be there, and you'd be getting hit, and they think they'd have an arbitrage opportunity. But there you go. But anyways,
what a steal. That was the steal of the week, the Biogen sell-off, the steal of the week down there.
Yep. And Lilly could be maybe one of the trades of the year, right? I mean, definitely doesn't look too bad.
ADP at 814, 815, ADP alert. It's alert.
ADP.
Oh gosh, you make
Are
me
we worried about jobs
cancel
number
all.
anymore?
I don't know.
Too late. I already hit the cancel all button.
I don't
think jobs numbers affect that much anymore. But
I hit cancel all already. So
you know why? Because we're not going to have that data anymore, because we're going to have artificial intelligence taking everyone's jobs. So that's what
IBM says. Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
IBM has said and come out that AI is going to take everybody's jobs, and they're not hiring any more people because AI is going to take everybody's jobs.
Well, watch out.
So we're eventually there'll be AI talking this show here right now. There won't be Joel. There won't be Money Mitch. There won't be Dennis. It will be a bot just talking and analyzing stocks, and you'll listen to the bot, and it'll be all exciting. The bots will have personality. The bots will have everything that you need. The bots will have all the correct information. The bots will only make good trades. They won't make any bad trades. So it'll be right 100% of the time, the bots. And if you believe that, I've got some ice to sell you here. north.
And
All right.
they'll tolerate the chat a lot better than we do. They'll be
Well,
programmed.
here
Oh
you
yes,
guys have it.
They will only get love from the chat. There will be no haters in the chat because they will all love the bots.
Well, here
I
you guys
shouldn't have
have
went
it.
wide, Joel. You scared me.
ADP,
I moved
I didn't do it. It was some other
change.
guy in the chat said it. Some guy in the chat. Blame him.
296,000.
Don't blame me. It's not everything's my fault.
Now I got to
These
put all these
boys.
orders back in there. You know how
Boys.
exhausting that
Not
is?
everything's my fault. Man, oh man, oh man. Go ahead, Mitch. What's the numbers?
All right,
We don't care.
non-farm
Blame Joel for
employment
everything.
change,
Joel's fault.
296,000 versus 148,000 estimate. And as you guys can see, not much movement off of that. It's just all based on the Fed today, right? I mean, everyone's just going to be watching what happens today. Of course, the Fed tool is saying that 86.1% chance of a 25 basis point raise today. What do you guys think? Is a pause not on the table after the banking concerns coming back?
Nah. He's going to be all stone face again, saying we're going up a quarter. It's what we need to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well,
We're
that's-
taking
He's not going to
inflation.
tip his
Yeah.
hand and think like he doesn't want you to think he's scared about the regional banking situation. That'd be
No
the
way.
worst thing they do. They're like, well, you know, these banks here, we just don't know. This is unknown. We get too many banks failing, so we better not raise rates today. The market's going way down if he says that.
Oh crap,
So
man!
he has
I'll be
no
watching.
choice. He can't start the panic. That would start
Yeah.
the panic. That's
Yeah.
what he's thinking. He's thinking that. I'd love not to raise rates tomorrow, but if I do that, I'm tipping my hand that I'm really worried about the regional banking situation. So it's got to go the quarter. I mean, they're going to monitor the banking situation, but they're going to act like nothing is wrong when a lot of things are very wrong. And what they should be doing is stop raising rates. They should be stopping. That's what they should be doing, but that's not what they are going to be doing.
All right, let's pivot us. We'll keep it going here. Let's go to Advanced Micro Devices as they reported earnings. Q1 EPS 60 cents, beat the 56-cent estimate. Sales of $5.35 billion, beat the $5.30 billion estimate. AMD's CEO said that chip makers still dealing with mixed sales markets. For the second quarter, we expect growth in our data center and client segments offset by modest declines in gaming and embedded segments. AMD does see double-digit data center growth in the second half of 23, but like we just mentioned, that's going to be offset with the declines in gaming.
Lisa Su is coming on CNBC at 9:15. Kramer loves Lisa Su. He will try to get her to talk AI. So just keep that in mind. If you're trading the stock, it is going to move at 9:15 Eastern when Lisa Su is on CNBC. So keep that in mind. With that being said, stock was really chopped off the initial number. They sold it off, then they bounced it. And props to my one buddy at Bray Trading who called this. He's like, this is the shakeout. He's like, they always do this. They take it down, and then they buy it back up. They take it to green. He's like, watch, this thing's going to go back red. And absolutely correct, it did. So it went up. So it literally went down like 87, up to almost 92. And then they just tanked it, and they kept tanking, and it kept bringing it down, and obviously it's down 7% here now. So I don't know what to say. I think I'd be a buyer somewhere on AMD, but I think you got to wait for the dust to settle on this. Let's see what Lisa Su says at 9:15.
All right. Boy, oh boy. This is one of your tougher calls here because you got a pre-market low at 82.64 and you don't have anything on the dailies there. Right? Absolutely nothing right there. Then your next daily low to contend with is 78.52. But I think if you're holding out, I don't know. If you're holding out for that, that's down another $4 or $5. Not sure what the straddle was pricing on this one, but whoever took a poke in the after hours, whoever took a shot shorting this since the end of April, they're saying, hey, 83 seems like a pretty good price to me. So as I said, pre-market low 82.56. And then the bottom of yesterday's range is if you're looking for a gap fill, that's way up at 88.12. But I don't know, I'm not one of them, but there's someone here that has an appetite at 82.5 to 83 in AMD.
Of course, I'm just thinking, will this report kind of turn around NVIDIA? What do you guys think about that? Just overall outlook
It's hardly
for NVIDIA
down.
now?
Look at the resilience here. It's
Hardly down.
unbelievable. AMD loses 7%, NVIDIA's down 0.5%.
That's why I'm looking at it.
The resilience here, it already sold off and they've bounced it already. Money
Yeah.
Mitch is the problem. It went down to 277 last night.
interesting
They
part.
won't stop buying this stock. And you know what? Everybody that's like bearish the dang thing, like, you know, and I can't buy it at 60 times earnings. Nobody else can. That's why it keeps going higher here. So it's going to take the story to cool off. The Nvidia story has not cooled off. That is the one stock that everybody believes is going to drive everything in the future. And you know what? They might be right. I just didn't want to pay 60 times for it. We should have been paying 30 times back, you know, earlier this year. And that's what it got down to early January when it got down there. I mean, buy good companies at reasonable valuations. Nvidia finally got a little bit reasonable. We didn't, at least I didn't buy it. I wish I would have.
Yeah.
That pre-market low, it dipped pretty good, and it was quick. It was 277.33 is where it got to, and if you were focusing on you know, your daily lows again, you would have gotten done at 77.80, taking a little bit of heat. Now back up. It has not recovered unchanged yet. That comes in at 282.10. So look at that. If you're looking for some minor resistance, and did trade over 290 on Monday, but I think you got somewhat perched sellers if really goes into rally mode. 289.10 is the recent closing high for the move, and that's about 70 cents above your high from yesterday. But man, once that thing cleared 280, boom, there was nothing in there. Had 4 or 5 highs at that area. That was on Monday that it did it. So AMD, look at those monthly candles here. How far from all-time high? All-time high, 346.47. So one of the great ones coming back has been AMD. Or not AMD, NVIDIA.
Yeah, NVIDIA has just been unbelievable. I do think I would be buying the AMD dip at some point in time. I think I like the 76 to 80 area. We've played NVIDIA a couple of times. I loved it at 60. I had it a couple of times down there at 60, but again, I let things go too soon. I think you get down in the mid 70s, but you know, let's say over this regional bank thing, you know, works out here too.
That's what I think is the most important thing.
It is, and you can say, well, AMD has nothing to do with that. Well, you know what? That's not true, because when banks start failing, people are all hiding. You saw what happened, you know, when it really started to get ugly yesterday, people getting nervous. They actually started selling Microsoft. Microsoft ended up going red too. So don't kid yourself. You're not just safe. It isn't like if we don't have banks that Microsoft does better. It's like this is what the algos want you to believe, but it's not the case. So I think you've just got to be careful, just blindly hiding in tech.
Will we see more bank runs, right? I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm taking out my money from Ally already. I just don't trust it anymore.
Are you?
I'm going to JP. I have a Chase account, so I'm just going to move it to Chase.
And you're going to see this happen.
That's just, I just have to do it almost. I almost have to do it.
We could say the deposits are safe, but you know, when you read the fine print, you know, and this is the truth. When you read the fine print, you're only insured up to a certain amount in these accounts. Now, again, the FDIC has stepped in on the 3 banks that have failed here, the major 3 that have failed, and they're saying the depositors are safe as a whole, like all of it. But I mean, if you had, like, let's just say a scenario analysis, and you have another 10, 20 banks failing, can the FDIC continue to do that? Where's that money coming from? Where's that money coming from?
Printers
so I mean, maybe they do it. Maybe they just keep printing more money, and then inflation goes crazy, and everybody just goes, you know, and it's all okay. But I'm just, you know, I think being diversified, if you got like a lot of money, being diversified and having it in a few different banks is prudent. It was always prudent. It's even more prudent right now.
Hey, for your Microsoft, before you go on, just for you Microsoft traders, investors out there, 309, man, oh man, keep an eye on that area. You know, I love the triple tops area. You got a seller out there at 309. The last 3 highs, 308.60 to 309.18. High closing the move, 307.26. You're trading above that. Maybe, I mean, I'm not trying to call top here. We know that doesn't do any good, but man, 3 highs in the same area. Microsoft, you had a similar formation with 4 highs in this area back in February, a little bit of a sell-off. Same thing here, but we ended up breaking through it, blasted. I don't know. I'm just, if you have profit targets in these things, which doesn't seem the need in some of these stocks, but please keep an eye on the 309 area in Mr. Softy.
All right, let's go to Ford Motors here. Q1 EPS at 63 cents, beat the 41-cent estimate. Sales of 41.5 billion, beat the 36.03 billion estimate. They do see fiscal year 23 adjusted capital spending at 8 billion to 9 billion, and EBITDA at 9 billion to 11 billion. One thing that I did note that I thought was interesting was the Model E vehicle is now expected to become EBITDA margin positive by the end of 24. Now, they do say that they're expecting some second half of the year pricing pressures. So definitely focus on that as we continue forward. Of course, we've seen how Tesla has been trying to battle with the pricing issues, and now Ford mentioning it also. This is not an area where I want to be, and I think Ford goes below 10.
You just don't like the response. Like, these earnings were fine too. The GM earnings were fine as well. The GM reports a pretty good quarter and they just knock it down. I mean, the tea leaves are just telling us so many different things in this rah narrative bull market. I mean, GM's sitting down here at the lows. Ford's sitting down here at the lows. Like, we can say it's only 7 stocks, but it's just, that's been the case. I mean, there's so many big companies, good companies that aren't 7% of the S&P, not doing very well right now. But again, the fundamentals were okay here. UAL earnings were good. They don't buy it. Why are they not? If we're in such a rah bull market, why are they not buying stocks on good news? Lilly, they buy on good news, but Lilly's defensive. Lilly's a defensive stock.
I wish I could draw a triangle on this one. I've lost my drawing capabilities, but if you go down to this this bottom right chart here, man, you got a triangle going on here. Look at this, coming off the lows. It
I
ain't
love
perfect.
it.
Look
Joel.
at that, and then you got a boom, 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 a triangle. I mean, and it's just winding up. I don't know which way it's going to go, either 14 or 10, but man, it's just getting tighter and tighter on the monthlies.
Mm-hmm.
It's in absolutely no man's land here at 1169. Let's go to the dailies. I don't know. You're right. That is, I mean, I call 1150 support, must hold support. And if they want to think this is a good report, everything's fine at Ford, they're going to take it above $12. Yesterday's high at 1209. GM has good earnings, right?
They were good earnings.
They get hit. Goldman, was it Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs comes out and says something nice about it? That opens up over 34. Platt gives it all the way back. Stellantis, I think, did they report today too? Stellantis, I mean, they're just, I don't know. If you can't get a stock to go up on good earnings, then where's the catalyst? Where's the catalyst to take it higher?
And people are saying, oh, Wingstop. I mean, you can always find a stock going up. Wingstop's percentage. Is Wingstop? I don't even think it's in the S&P. I'm pretty sure it's not. But there's always going to be a stock.
How did we get to Wings?
What's that?
Oh, it's just a stock that's up. I mean, yeah. I mean,
there's always a stock going up.
Yeah,
there's always a stock going down.
Scanner,
what we're trying to look at is like what's happening overall here.
Mm-hmm.
I think IWM paints a very good picture. People say it's only small caps going down. Is GM a small cap? Mm-mm. Is Ford Motor a small cap? Is that where we're at now? Those are small cap stocks. I mean, there's a lot of stocks, and look at the oils here too. You see U.S. Steel?
Yeah.
Is this telling you that we're in this, rah expansion? Ooh. There's one of two things going to happen. Because if we're going into this next bull market, UAL, GM, U.S. Steel, these stocks are all just complete steals down here then, pun intended. They are steals down here if we're going to, new all-time highs and then huge expansion is coming. Or the other alternative is that we're being held up by a few names and there's a lot of other things under the hood that don't look that great. I mean, look at Deere, Joel. We talked about Deere. It's 60 points off the high now. The PE on Deere is like 10. If we were really going into this full-on expansion, Deere at 383 is a hell of a buy. And maybe that's what we should be doing. Maybe we should be going. But you know what? When you go and buy these things, a week later, you regret them because they go lower. That ALB, which I've bought, its P is like 9. Well, lithium. In lithium, I have the LTHM, which we could go over there. Lithium's been doing, actually the fundamentals have been fine, doing pretty good. ALB, I believe, reports tonight. They'll probably report fine earnings. Were they going to rally it on it, though? They haven't before. Last time reported good earnings, it gapped up and gave it right back. So it's just a market that's telling you something else is going on.
Have you ever had the wings at Wingstop? Mitch? Dennis?
I can tell you at least in the office, The office always has them. So
Really?
yeah, if you want to go in, Joel, just go in.
I had
You'll
them
probably find
once.
them.
I'm trying to remember though.
It's all right. I mean, it's nothing special.
They
Let's
weren't
just
like
be honest.
memorable in the case like, oh
Yeah,
my
it's
gosh,
nothing
I've never had
memorable.
wings like this before. You got to go to Windsor, Ontario, and you go to Hurricanes. That's
It's
the
like
best
Hooters,
wings.
bro. Do they go for the
Dennis,
wings?
don't you have a hurricane story with wings? You ate like
Yeah, no, the Hurricane. So my wing story, and I guess we got 5 minutes before we get Cece coming on here. But so Hurricanes, I went to University of Windsor, and Hurricanes was local wing place. They have awesome wings. They're meaty, lots of wings to them. They get the 2-for-1 Wednesdays. So you get 2-for-1 wings. So I had my buddy who was over 300 pounds at the time, and we go to Hurricanes, and he orders the 24, which means you get 48 wings, and you get the fries and the veggies with it too. And I'm like, back in the day, I'm like, I can eat 48 wings. No problem. I can do it. So anyway, so I ordered the 20. I'll get the 24 too. So we get the 48 wings, and it was amazing. You're eating these wings down. They're just amazing. The sauce, Hurricane wings are awesome. I eat everything. I eat the fries. I eat the wings. I eat the vegetables. And I'm like, and my other friend was with us there, and he only ordered the 12. So then we were walking out to the car, and I'm like, to get in this car, you got to eat 48 wings. And and we did drove away. We went back and got them, but we were like, you can't eat them. Anyways,
it's
so
still
about
there.
20 minutes later, I was like, my stomach, I'm so full from those wings. I was like an hour later, and I'm like, my stomach, feels like it's gonna explode. I'm literally like hurting. It was 2 hours later. I'm laying on the couch and I'm in so much pain. I'm like, I think I need to go to the hospital because I actually think I've done something to my stomach that it's expanded so much that it's hurting. I'm like in there in pain. It took 4 hours for me to get out of the pain. I laid on the couch for 4 hours just trying to recover from eating 48 wings and all those fries and all those vegetables. And I vowed never to eat that much food again. And I don't think I ever have. It was crazy. And my buddy there, who was 300 pounds at the time, he's like, why are you so weak? Weak, Denny. Triple D, and he'd call me Triple W. Weak.
What buddy was that? Was it your buddy Tom?
My buddy Phil.
Phil, I
The
don't
big
know.
show, we
Sponsored
call him.
by
He was the big show.
Pepto-Bismol this morning. Pre-market
Yeah.
prep, sponsored by
Oh
Pepto-Bismol.
man, I'm about to cry on that
it's
one.
just killer.
Oh my lord.
48
That
wings,
is-
and they're meaty wings. Hurricanes, shout out. Awesome wings. Everyone
You
wins.
should have had the
I see it.
Go to
They're still
Sandwich Town
open.
Hurricanes. It's still there at Best Wings.
Okay. All right.
All right, guys, let's go. Maybe we got 3 minutes left. Let's do S-Day Slaughter or S-Day Lauder, whatever you want to call it today. Q3 adjusted EPS coming in here at 47 cents, missing the 51 cent estimate. Sales of 3.75 billion, beat the 3.71 billion estimate. They do see fiscal year 23 sales down 10 to 12%. Adjusted EPS at $3.29 to $3.39 on the high end, versus a $4.96 estimate. So big miss there on that adjusted EPS outlook. And you guys are seeing it. Get the slaughter.
So mad. And the reason here is it was bid up last night. Somebody was bidding at 248 and they wanted the stock. And I'm sitting up there like 250. I was like, 1%. It's like, it's not enough. I'll take something. If somebody gives me enough lead, I'll take it, into the report. And they're bidding up $3, and I'm like, it's not enough because that's just over 1% on the $245 stock. It's like, come on up to 250. Come on up a little bit higher. Come on up, and I'll give you. I'll go short a little bit into the report if you give me enough lead. Anyways, think about, man, if I would have hit that 248, it's 208. Holy cow, that'd been the trade of the day. But trade of the week, 15% on it. But it was not to be. Was not meant to be here, obviously. But just goes to show you. Some of these orders, people bidding them up before the reports.
They know nothing. They know
90% of the time, they don't know anything.
Yeah.
90% of the time. There's money to be made just fading those people.
Boy,
The odd time, though, that insider gets you. I'm sure there is an odd time that somebody's got some type of tip or information there, and they're bidding it up after hours, and then they burn on that. But most of the time, they don't know much.
Oh boy. What Dennis, you would have been out long ago, and you'd be saying, "Oh yeah, 204."
Although I didn't wake up until like 6:50. So where was it at 6:50? Because I would have covered it immediately.
You're at 6:50. You're such a market
223,
timer.
man.
Where was it at 6:50? That's how much I would have made.
226, 223, somewhere in there.
Yeah. I don't know. She might have even forgot about it. You
I would have forgot it. When I would have logged in, I would have seen a huge winner, and I've been like, Come to Papa. Take those gains before the market takes them from me.
204 is your pre-market low.
204. You kill
Yeah.
things.
Man, oh man, I don't know. There's 3 low. Oh man, that was an exact daily low too. Going back to November, I would just say for today and next couple days, I'd keep an eye on the 203 to 206 area. That encompasses 3 lows from going back in November. If you really want to hold on for a gap fill, go right ahead. That would be at 195.63. Let's look at Alta. We did have our discussion on this. Alta, little bit different. Trade. It's offered down, right, Dennis? Offered at
Yeah, it's offered
520.
down.
Is it offered at 520?
It's offered at 524, so it's offered down $6. I thought about hitting. We were talking the pre. I was like, whenever I should hit the 525. There was a 525 bid. I was like, I can't hit $6 down. Well, it's now offered 524, 523.99 is 50 shares offered on IRCA. Best bid's down at 520, so it's getting hit a little bit. Your Elf Beauty, though, more direct that people think about, and that's down 2.44%.
Oh, that was only down $1.25 when we talked about it.
I gotta just hit those bids, Joel.
Hit the bids, Dennis. They don't lift offers when a stock is going down. How many times do I have to tell you that?
That's what I'm telling you. So you gotta hit the bid.
There's some
I learned it from
knowledge
you,
there.
Joel.
There's definitely some knowledge
so much
there.
from this Joel Elconin guy. He'd smack me on the back of the head in that bright office. I'd be like, "Oh, the stock's got bad news," and I'm sitting on the offer. He's like, "Dennis, they don't lift offers when you're getting bad news. You hit the bid. You hit it again."
I didn't smack you.
I learned
don't think there was only 1 or 2 fisticuffs in the office, and that was between the brothers.
Oh yeah, the brothers would fight.
Yeah, and I did not. I never.
The Intel traders.
The Intel traders.
They traded Intel, so much Intel. They were trading Intel. What were they? They were like 3% of the volume of the day on Intel. These two guys.
It was Intel and G, but I'm thinking of Dennis and Harvey.
Oh, Dennis and Harvey. Oh yeah, they like to fight too.
Yeah.
Brotherly love.
Joel, you need to start another office.
Harvey,
we'll be there.
Harvey, shout out. We love you, Harvey.
No way.
Joel's starting the next office. You guys heard that out there.
This is it. This is it for me. Okay. All right.
Let's get out of that. Let's go ahead. Let's get to our guest today. You guys smash the like. You guys have been enjoying the show. Let us know.
CC, I hope we didn't scare you coming on the show with all this trader fighting talk. But
no, but Dennis scared me with the wing story.
40. I don't know if I ever recovered. My voice kind of had stomach pain since then. So
Yeah.
I think that night I actually did damage to my stomach. Don't eat. Moral of the story: don't eat 48 wings. I'm not Joey Jaws.
Long indigestion.
Yeah.
a lot of
You know what? You know Joey Jaws. Those guys though, after they eat all those hot dogs, they throw up afterwards.
Yeah,
Really?
I didn't know. Yeah, they do.
Well, what a shocker that is.
Well, they
Dennis.
have to, or they do damage. So I didn't
they'll
know
kill
that. I should have
themselves
just
in
went
the
and made
inside,
myself
man.
sick, and I would have felt better. But I had to be the hero.
Okay. Let's we have a very smart guest on here today, and we got to talk about, the VIX. We don't give it enough love. We have our own, inner volatility measures here, but when the VIX gets this low, you got to adapt your trading strategies. Talk about what you're seeing out there, CC.
Yeah, it was this past month has been pretty wild. And by wild I mean it was like a straight line, right? In the broader markets. Like the S&P, it's exactly where it today it's exactly where it was to begin April. And that is not, if you were involved in options markets, and especially with my former job, which was a options market maker, those types of situations can get exacerbated by what just preceded them. So what just preceded that was, if you remember back in late February, early March, was the worries that the Fed was going to stay more aggressive. We were talking about all of that. And then all of a sudden Silicon Valley Bank happens, right? And so we get this a few weeks of pretty intense volatility. The VIX spikes higher. Then all of a sudden Silicon Valley Bank gets, taken over. Everybody sort of goes back to normal. And then the assumption is, that's what we needed for the Fed to back off, right? So then all of a sudden, all of those options that were bought during that crazy month that preceded April, all of a sudden that's choking the market, right? And so you had this kind of weird situation in April where, as you all were talking earlier, you had big tech, earnings rallies masking, internal weakness elsewhere in the market, right? So that was sort of balancing itself off. And then at the same time, you had all of this market loaded with gamma from that fear. And what gamma means is just everybody raced out to buy a bunch of puts and all, right? And you had that situation where there was suddenly this underlying bid in the market. But then at the same time, every time the market tried to rally in April, there were stocks to sell. People had stock to sell. So it became this really, sort of like it was an amazing flat line, right? And so the realized actual vol of the market, it was like at multi-year lows last month. Now, what's interesting is towards the end of April, and you never know how this is going to play out, but the assumption was, all right, once you have the big monthly April expiration, some of that stuff that's clogging the market, could clear out. And the market is still flat over the last, week and a half, but it has been much more volatile intraday and day to day. So we might have just gone through a bit of like a regime shift in, options kind of becoming like a self-fulfilling prophecy in the market. And, as to what's next, who knows? But like, all I do know is like from a trader's perspective, like even if you're just trading, if you're an equities trader and you're not an options trader, when the VIX is at this low, like, multi-year lows, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are at a top, right? Like I think the last time the VIX was this low was July of 21, right? And the market kind of went a little higher, and I don't think it topped out, until a few months later, like into the fall and almost winter. But that kind of upside move from here, it really would kind of be dependent on some down days like we saw yesterday, right? The VIX being this low, you are not going to miss, put it that way. You're not going to miss big upside moves with the VIX at 16. I mean, today it's higher, but on Monday. So what you can look to when the VIX is this low is if you're out there looking for protection is cheap, right? And as we saw yesterday, moves to the downside happen a lot quicker. But unless you get more moves like that to the downside, you will not see this market. It's unlikely that this market just charges to the new highs with you missing out, right? Because it's just going, at best, it would be a slow grind, a couple percent to the upside. What makes a market go scream higher is you have days where the market tanks 500 points, the VIX spikes to 25, everybody steps in, they think the market starts moving higher, they think they missed out, and they chase stocks. Nobody's chasing stocks when the market's moving 0.5% a day. You know what I mean?
Great point. All that is a great point. Just, a lesson in volatility, a lesson in how much that impacts, these individual days here too. So we did see a slight spike up in the VIX yesterday, obviously pretty significant, really. Started to leak back there towards the end of the day, but I mean, that's off the regional banks here. Yeah. How are you, like, and maybe we should take it into individual stocks here too, because everybody wants to, and we only have you for a few minutes. So maybe we should
How
take it
about
over.
long term, Dennis? How about we just ask them overall, like if you feel like, Dennis, you're very underinvested here, right?
Sure.
What if like, is this the place where you take like the protection's cheap, right?
Yeah.
So if it, and I've seen this in the market, and I always say when there's big periods of volatility, if the volatility comes down and stays down, that just, to me, it just means it's okay to go higher.
Right.
Maybe not scream higher.
It won't,
so
right.
yeah. So is this a point where because protection's so cheap, and maybe you're underinvested a little bit, you think, Fed's going to relent, whatever the circumstances are.
Yeah.
Is this a kind of environment where you want to buy some stocks and then use the cheap protection?
Well, that's a really good point. And so the way you all know, like there's like a VIX futures curve, right? And so we always see the VIX on TV and on every website and all, and that's like what's the spot VIX, let's say. But there's actually, a VIX futures, right? And so the futures right now are in really steep contango, right? Meaning front month like near-term options are really inexpensive, but there's some worry out into like July options and June options, and you have all this like the debt ceiling. Obviously, what's next? The Fed, if this is the Fed's last day, and then we get a bad CPI next week, right? Like, then what? So there are some, like, people know that this is probably not sustainable. But it's a really good question, Joel, because what it means is, I would say it's not a really great environment for new longs right now. Like, obviously, you would rather catch it after an 8% sell-off or something, right? However, to your point, you could go out and, maybe some of these more beaten down names, not the Microsofts and all, but like as Dennis was talking earlier, some of those IWM stocks look terrible.
Yeah.
You could maybe take some shots in those and just buy cheap put protection, and maybe just, near term, and kind of like, if you're right, keep rolling it, right? So what you're doing is you're really sort of backstopping yourself about being wrong in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And if you were right, then all was good, and you paid basically nothing to protect against being wrong. And if you're right, then you can just kind of keep rolling that protection higher as you go farther out. So yeah, that's a really good point.
CC, I did want to take it to individual stocks with Apple reporting here tomorrow night.
Yep.
And I wanted to, maybe you could give us the expected move, thoughts going into this report here, because obviously the stock has been one of the stocks that's just been resilient in 2023. We're talking about a stock, that's put on, billions and billions of dollars in market cap here, and it's run from 130 to 170 this year. Talk to us about, what the options market is expecting from Apple.
Well, no, it's funny is, so I just pulled up the chart, and I put it as my name. If people want to go, they can go to tools.optionsai.com, and you can, just search for Apple. You get some cool stuff. You get the expected move chart. You get what it did over its past earnings. It is really low vol. So the expected move is only 3.4% for this earnings.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And I'm looking back, Apple's a weird stock, right? So I don't know, like, I'm going to look exactly what happened, but I kind of remember a lot of earnings where it didn't move at all, right, over the past few years. So it is somewhat understandable. But yeah, 3.4%. And I'm just kind of like, and I'm going to like back out the chart.
I remember one time it moved and Dennis was short the straddle.
Yeah, that was the only, and then I never did a straddle rating again.
Can I screen share real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Feel
free
Please
to do that real
do
quick,
that
because I just want to show you kind of how nuts that is.
It's got present. You'll see window or an entire screen at the top tabs.
Yeah. All right.
Well, CC's doing that.
This is riveting TV as I do that.
Let's do it.
Can you all see that?
Yeah, we got it.
Oh,
I mean, like, come on, like, look at this. Look at this chart. I mean, obviously that's 1 year, and let me just take it in like 3 months or something. So what you're seeing here, you're basically seeing the expected move of 3.4%, but that's like, I mean, yeah,
that's like a normal move.
Yeah, it seems really cheap, but again, this could be, self-fulfilling in that, it might be loaded. People might still be choking on options in Apple, and that could explain the that slow creep, higher that you've seen in it, and obviously you had their other peers, their huge mega cap peers report, but yeah, that could explain it, is that it might be loaded with options from, some of the prior fear.
Wow.
Boy, oh boy.
And then let's do one more if you can do them here, because we got some reports here tonight too. I mean, obviously at AMD. Actually, let's take it back to AMD. So, can you bring up AMD just for fun? See how well they did with the expected move. I think it's a good exercise. I mean, the stock is down 7% here. Did they keep this within the expected move, or was this one that went outside it?
All right, well, let's see, and hopefully, all right. AMD, and I am on.
All right, let's get this.
Yeah, he's
don't
look
at my. Don't look at my. Can you see my whole browser?
No, we're
No,
just on
I
the screen. Hide all that bad stuff.
Well, what's funny is I was about to tell you guys. So I have a bank stress test right after this because somebody wrote a $68,000 fake check in one of my bank accounts.
What?
And what's crazy is this is Chase, and I got the only reason I know is because that checking account was overdrafted, and I saw it like on an email. But otherwise, nothing. I've heard nothing from Chase, and I called them up last night. And they were, I got a call center overseas, and they're like, "Oh, call back in the morning." But like, I don't know, like $68,000 check, and I was like, "You guys just let that go through."
Wow. Thanks.
So AMD,
Thanks, JPM.
AMD was exactly.
Shout out to JP. Shout out to Diamond.
So
I'm gonna sell my
AMD
stock right now.
A 6.2% expected move, and what's it move right now?
Oh, it's right there, 6.27. So they're in there.
There you go.
I mean, here, this just goes to show it's so hard to make money buying options, right, CC? Because, I mean, you're in here and you're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be a huge move. And then they just hold her in there. Well, this is probably the most underutilized tool, too, for traders because, they're just in there looking at charts. They're looking at this. These expected moves mean so much because people are positioned from these prices here. And obviously the options, this is where they start to make money, and this is where they're going to exercise, where market makers are. It means so much.
Yeah. And it's fun. You just explained it perfectly. So when like an expected move in AMD into earnings, 6.2%, that is not a prediction that it's going to move exactly that amount. It could move, 10%, it could move 0%. However, that is how the market is like exactly positioned in AMD, right? And so what that means to you as a trader, if you're just trading equities and you think this stock is going to move 15%, you might be the only person in the world that thinks that, right? And that's a way to sort of set your expectations, right? And if you were to be right and AMD would have moved 15%, you better really get paid for being that right and being that far against the crowd, right? But from an options trading perspective, what that means is if AMD moves 10%, everybody that bought options, not everybody, you have to get direction right now, but they were correct that options were underpriced is the best way to look at it. And if AMD were to move 2% on earnings, everybody that sold options was correct that options were overpriced, right? And so it's sort of like it's the line in a sporting event, right? And it's like, will the Lakers beat the Celtics by 5?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, what side of that am I on? I need to know that first before I make a bet, basically.
And then if they get too much money going one way, then they take the spread down a 0.5 point, and then they get the money going the other way, and they take it up a 0.5 point, and then it ends up in the middle, and everyone loses, and they keep the VIG. CC Lagator. Yeah, CC Lagator from Options AI, who was way ahead of AI before it was even a big thing. CC, you only owe us $67,000 for coming on the show for the last couple of weeks, not 68. Okay.
What's your bet on my success of this call going well?
Oh, you're gonna get somebody that has no idea your situation. First of all,
it's JPM, right? They got you, man.
I've got to take you to a manager, and you have to fill in the manager.
It's the fortress.
The next guy, you'll fight this forever, man.
Exactly.
I go right to the manager. Yep.
I'll go right. Jamie Dimon. Should I go right to him?
Yeah. Straight call.
And if you
got
do
Jamie's
get him,
cell number, Money Mitch, get Jamie on. Get Jamie on the line here. We want to know what's going on.
Jamie Dimon would have $68,000 in his pocket that he could just
maybe he could just make you whole right there. We're all good. Thank you.
Venmo. You get Venmo. No. Okay.
Give you some Bitcoin.
Thank you, CC. We'll talk to you again soon.
See you guys.
Okay. All right. We always get carried away with these option guys because we don't cover them enough, and they give us, a lot of people.
He's the best, man.
Yeah,
he's one of the best. He is?
Yeah,
he's one of the best for sure. I mean, we'll say one of the best because we have some fantastic options traders that come on this show, but CC is one of the best for sure.
He explains it, makes it, easy to understand.
You know what? When you've got the market making experience, this is the difference. And you can always tell, Joel, somebody that came from the floor. You can always tell right away within a minute of the conversation. If I'm having a new conversation with somebody I don't know and they start talking, I was like, you've either been around a lot of floor traders or you've come from the floor. because there's just more understanding of the plumbing. There's no more understanding of how it all works. And and I didn't come from the floor. I think I just benefited from the Bright trading office, and everybody was floor traders in there. I think about you came from the floor, and so many other people in that office in 1999 came from the floor, and just learning so much from them. And I realized I traded retail for 3 years before I joined Bright Trading, and I realized when I entered that room, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know anything. You learn so much from the guys who are actually handling flow, handling the orders. That's where you learn the most. Is floor traders are awesome.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a virtual floor or something. We can all scream and well, we'd have to have like 87 moderators. But anyways, we've fallen behind. It's time for TradeZero segment.
All right, let's get into it. We're taking a look right now at the up gap here. Net change up. Of course, you see Lily at the top.
Yeah.
We've already talked about that. We see Wing at the top. That's already done.
You want to know what I want to talk about with Lily? Look at Biogen.
Yeah.
Look at Biogen, Joel.
Oh, now it's green by
It went
$5.
green. Yeah,
it
went
went
green.
green.
Went green.
Look at that turnaround. Woo!
Holy.
Right back to the
Just
upside.
shows you know what? Never one move the sympathy stock more than the leader. Never move the sympathy. Write that down. Sympathy stock never, hardly ever moves more than the leader. They were knocking Biogen down more than they were buying Lilly up. I mean, that's a tell right there. And then one is, the strength of the stock. So look, has the stock been strong? Because if it has been strong, the shorts are like, oh my gosh, you're giving me an out, and they're coming in here. So you get those counter moves like that, sometimes really good too. But I mean, on news, the sympathy trade usually never moves more than the leader.
You would have bought Biogen and sold Lilly is what you would have done if you were at your desk.
Huge.
Yeah,
that would have been a nice one.
Get 440.
Yeah,
that's some big money, Bear. Yeah, they got to close the gap. Is Biogen and Lilly by the end of the day going to be the same? That'd be crazy. I don't think that's going to happen, but wow.
That'd be a fun one to trade. Okay, keep us going, Mitch.
Definitely.
Keep us going.
Let's go to SMCI, Super Micro Computers. They did report today Q3 EPS, missing on EPS, missing on sales, but still getting the push up higher here. Of course, their guidance forward was actually a lot better than expected. So that's what really kind of gave them the lift. The earnings themselves, of course, the EPS missing and sales missing here, but nice little lift towards the 115.
Has some memory here up in this area. I'm just going to look at this recent high. Now, that recent high is 119.24. I don't know if you're going to get there, but what I would keep an eye on is 116.59. That was your April 20th high. Let me see if we've got there in the pre-market. I don't think we did. You know who gave me this stock a long time ago, and I can't remember where it was at, but Christian like this one, Christian Fromhertz on one of the closing trends.
He makes some good calls every once in a while, doesn't he? We love Christian. We love
the big thing with Christian is that he looks into the industries and looks deeper, finds a stock that you're probably not paying attention to, but has a really nice trending chart. So that's one thing that I've noticed really well. Look deeper into the industries and try to find where the stocks are really strong. And this one has been really good. I mean, look at the daily chart on it. You scroll back, you can see how it's been just straight up trending. We'll see if this turns around.
You know what? Also, he waits. He's really he has a lot of patience. Okay, is that enough of the up ones? Do we want to go to some disasters, or you want to stick with?
I mean, there's a bunch we can talk about, right? There's Yum here. Yum is getting a little bit of a lift there. They did report this morning. So Yum Brands EPS $1.06, missing $1.13 estimate. Sales of 1.645 billion, beat the 1.62 billion estimate. Yum Brands getting a little bit of a lift, and of course, we have been seeing this starting to get a nice little push. China's been kind of.
This is Yum China.
Yeah, the problem is there's two that are reported. Yum China
Yum
reported last night, and Yum reported this morning. So this one is Yum China, YUMC, which is up. Yum is going the other way. So I mean, if you were like taking lead from Yum China, Yum did not do as well there. So your KFC and what is it, Pizza Hut, and what else is in Yum? I forget which one's that spin off from Pepsi.
Who goes to Pizza Hut anymore?
Oh, did they get rid of the Pizza Hut?
No,
they got it. It's pizza.
Pizza Hut's good pizza. I like pizza.
Not the best for you, that's for sure. But we'll keep it moving here, team. Let's go to the down gap.
It's
Let's
not
see what
good
we
for
see
you.
there.
KFC and Pizza Hut is not good for you.
Oh,
KFC is like a natural laxative. It's got to be good for you. You don't have to go on these things. You just go eat KFC and it cleans you right out.
I'm sure
Joel,
you know.
It's like, I can't believe
you know
he
all
just
about
said
that.
Taco Bell's the other one. That's a natural laxative.
Oh,
too.
Taco Hell. Yeah,
No, it's
yeah,
Taco.
Hell.
It's
All right,
excellent.
we're
I
leaking.
love
All right,
Taco Bell.
it's 9 o'clock here, and the S&Ps are leaking here, Dennis. We're going back. Looks like
Leaky?
we're going back to
Leaky?
unchanged. At 36.75. We got the Fed. We got a lot of things to look forward to. Fun show, except for that last part about what you talking about, Dennis. But as always, you guys, great
Keep it
job.
real, man.
Yeah, we'll talk
Keep
to you
it
soon.
real.
Always keep it real.
Oil, tanking right now.
Oil, man.
Holy.
Yes. Is this the time, Dennis? You still got Warren Buffett's back. I'll tell you right now, I'm about to go against him again.
I want a little bit oxy, but I want to be buying here down 57 to 58. So right in this 58 area, they were getting to that Warren Buffett.
You don't think he's going to get to the point where he's not going to want to buy it here?
What is going on? Like, I mean, everybody who's like rah, this S&P is so resilient, but I mean, now you got oil breaking down. Like, look at how many things. Look at the case. Gold, silver going up, Bitcoin going up. The bonds were strengthened. TLT was going up. Government bonds, risk-free. You got the banks going down. You got oil going down. You got like a lot of these cyclical stocks going down. Does this not spell recession? Does not all these things spell Mitch? But the S&P says, hell no, we won't go. Hell
exactly.
No,
That's exactly.
That's
what's going to break. What's going to break, right? Is it going to be that we just completely lift the wall of the worry from the regional banks, or do we come back into concern with that? That's what I think is the only thing that could really turn us around. And of course, right now it's seeming like, we're going to get to 25 basis points later today, right? I don't think that's going to make too much change in the market. I think the market has pretty much already priced that in probably here at the top. Now, the only question is, will we turn around here? And that's what I'm watching the big boys. Apple's going to be the determining factor. I think if Apple breaks down and all of a sudden gives us a bad report, we can easily start seeing some profit taking in this market. We'll see what happens today. Keep your watch on Apple. Oil continuing to break down. XOM, I saw it completely fill the gap yesterday. Now actually going lower through that gap. Yesterday's low being 109.29. We're at 108.35. So I'm going to keep watch on names like this that haven't really broken down. We're near kind of the top of the range. XOM being really closer to that top of the range. But look at this Chevron chart. This doesn't look good.
No, but you come back into that 150, you come into the buy zone here too. So you're like 157. Natural bounce area is 150.
I'll take a Joel comment. Support until it ain't. Because it has been support, but
first time down there though, Money Mitch, you think it's going 170, 150, 130? The only way it's doing that is if we get a dozen bank failures. And we have said this before. The reason that oil sold off yesterday, don't think about all this other crap that media is talking about. The reason oil sold off yesterday was the regional banks. The banks, oil stocks have a hell of a lot of debt. If credit gets tighter, that is not good for any companies that are carrying that kind of debt load. And that is the main reason why I've said this before, that when the regional banks, normal markets, oil and banks have nothing to do with each other. When banks are failing, companies with a lot of debt have problems. So just keep that in mind. One of the main reasons that oil sold off yesterday was the regional banking crisis that we had going on. And that is far from over. Keep an eye on PACW. It will be your driver all day here today. It's been up. It's been down in the pre-market. They can't decide what they want to do with it. It's leaking here again. I do believe that PACW may be a zero. It might be the next one to go. We said this about FRC. We were correct. We even said it, so I think PACW could go that same way. I hope it doesn't. I hope it all turns around. I hope that the S&P is right, and this is just a great buying opportunity for all these stocks. But my spiny senses are telling me there's more bank failures ahead. The market is telling me there's more bank failures ahead. The market is telling me that there's trouble ahead, and oil is not going to do well if we're getting more bank failures. So I do think I love this 150 Chevron area, but you got to be careful. We start getting bank failures, it could get ugly.
There's a lot of banks here with concerns, right? I mean, you could just roll through them. I have the KRE here for the change. You see HBNC, BMRC. Look at these charts, guys. It just
They all look
doesn't
the same.
good.
They all look like
Just
they're making
leaked.
new lows, and they're not looking pretty at all here. I mean, there's some that have held up. There's some that are holding up better. And the mega, obviously JP Morgan's of the world, the cities, even though they were starting to get hit yesterday.
I mean, look at Bank of America. That
I
doesn't
know.
look good. That never
That
went
looked great.
That never really went up. I mean, it went to
Not
like
much.
30, but that's about it. I
Not
mean,
much.
You got what, $2 of lift in Bank of America when this seemed like it was going away, and now you're right back to 27.64. That's a very important area for me. I'm going to be watching to see if Bank of America goes lower through that. And if Bank of America makes its way to like 20, are we going to be more concerned even about a global bank? That's where I think we got to start being focusing on what happens. And then also, we haven't heard anything else out of Europe in a little while, right? So like DB, it's just hanging up here at the top. Are we going to start seeing that take a hit there? Things like this, keeping it on watch, team. We'll see what happens in the bank situation. That's definitely one of the major focus if we're going to see a market turnaround or not. We'll definitely keep watch. Dennis Dick, Triple D Trader. You guys keep up with everything he does. We'll see you next time, my friend. Have a good one, Dennis. All right, now to bring you guys over to live trading, and we've been doing really well, been battling, and also started the small account challenge. So if you guys want to check out, of course, live trading, Zunaid and I will be on there. Lord Ryan is traveling to, of course, the office right now. So you guys smash the like, come on over to live trading, and let's see what we get into today.